19:12, which goes something like this. Whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. And whoever does not have even what he has will be taken from him. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that's a proverb of sorts that we need to constantly fight against, because it can be done. If I can, with a so-called normal IQ, succeed at the level that I have, and I haven't even begun to tell you what I have. I've gotten the MacArthur Award out of nowhere. $500,000, Eric, here's, it's yours. So I turned it into a series of television programs. You see, the possibility of the potential is always there for us. So how do we control the Matthew effects and their consequences, or must they inevitably control us? You know, those effects, and here's a candidate running for president today. I'm not taking any sides, but you may hear something in my voice. Some may argue that the other 53% who bring us all along can produce socially beneficial results. But here's the cut. They also produce and manifest injustices breeding resentment and even reactive violence among those who are left behind. Do we really wish to create a future in which the chasms that exist between the advantaged and the disadvantaged continually widen? Or do we want to create a future that enables all of us to have our gifts emerge? Poverty is not destiny. Inequality is rapidly expanding. Data from the tax returns show that the top 1% of households in the United States received 8.9% of all pre-tax income in 1976. In 2008, the top 1% share had more than doubled to 21%. And that figure is nearly double today in 2012. The mere fact of being low on a status totem pole brings its own deep stress and imposes its own psychic costs. Inequality and a feeling of exclusion causes social pain, which can lead to obesity, worse health outcomes, fewer social connections, more depression, anxiety, and shame. Here is the end of my introduction. I want to read to you from The Mindful Brain. I'll say it again. You should all read it, especially for those, whether you're in high school or at the college here. The Mindful Brain by Daniel Siegel. The quote is, "We are in desperate need of a new way of being in our society, in ourselves, in our schools. Our modern culture has evolved in recent times to create a troubled world, with individuals suffering from alienation, schools failing to inspire and to connect students. In short, we are a society without a moral compass that can help us clarify how we can move forward in our global community. I have seen my own children grow up in a world where human beings are ever more distant from the human interactions that our brains have evolved to require, yet are no longer part of our inherent educational and social systems. In a sense, we're suffering today, and this is your challenge for the students. We're suffering from today, which I would have called a malignant narcissism, where it is about me, it is about I, and it is not about we. You are a powerful force for change if you understand that your strength not comes from your individuality. The foundation of your individuality is important, but your strength comes from a collective interaction that empowers you as it empowers those that you touch in your lives. I mean, have you read Alex de Tocqueville? What a great, I know you have. What a great historian, shaking your head. You guys should always sit in front of me. I love the nonverbal support. He so eloquently describes where we need to be. He said, quote, "The greatness of America lies not in being more enlightened than any other nation, but rather in our ability to repair her faults." Now, where does this repairing happen? It happens in the educational pipeline. It happens when you open your ears, your hearts, and your minds, your embrace to the possibility of what could be. I'm sick and tired of looking at this data where 27.4% of African Americans live in poverty. 12 million Native Americans, Asians, black and white children live in poverty. 27 million Americans are unemployed. 14% of African Americans are unemployed. 49 million Americans are uninsured. 2 million African Americans and Hispanic Americans are incarcerated. They're in prison. In my state of Connecticut, where I now live, 86% of the prisoners are people of color. What is that? What's up with that? You know what's up with that. There's a herding mentality. Those who have get into Yale and Harvard. Those who do not necessarily might go somewhere else. But often they're herded like cattle into prison. Why? To maintain the prison industrial complex. I know because I've worked in those prisons. I've seen some of the Americans, fellow citizens who were there for minor offenses such as having an ounce of marijuana. 7,000 students drop out every day. Nearly 1/3 of all public high school students will fail to graduate with their class, and in many urban districts, less than 50% graduate. The 1 million plus students who drop out will cost our nation over $300 billion in lost income, productivity, and taxes during their lifetimes. And this is what kills me. And you know about this. We spend $10,000 educating ourselves in Bennington per student, but $40,000 maintaining a prison bed. Now where's the strength, the belief, the faith in that? There's something wrong in our society, and it's up to you, and it's up to me, and it's up to we to begin to alter this. And it's up to you to incorporate that need for self-control, so when, by the time you're 28, your amygdala is well developed, which controls your emotions, you can keep yourself from those impulsive decisions that end up getting you in trouble. I know what it means to drive while being black. I know what it means to be walking. I know what it means to have Confederate flags flown in front of me. And I know many of my friends who just happen to be white who've been stereotyped themselves because of poverty, because they're maybe not coming from a doctor or a lawyer family. Nearly 40% of college students will not graduate. It doesn't have to be that way. There are 4 education myths. Write this down. Number 1, that we need to focus on student weakness. A focus on student weakness is the path for reversing underachievement. That we focus on student weaknesses is a path for underachievement. Now, we've been conditioned to do this, guys. I've traced it back to Arthur Shockley, the inventor of the transistor, who basically tried with all his millions to convince Americans that African Americans just are not intelligent as other people. Or Charles Murray and Richard Herrnstein in the bell curve on page 526 that basically says, what we need to do in America, this is out there, guys. This is a white paper. This is a paper that was developed. This is orchestrated. This is social engineering. This is happening in your lives. Believe it or not, this disparity has been engineered. Murray and Herrnstein, who basically said on 526, what we need to do in America is create lavish-type reservations, Indian-type reservations, to place poor people on those reservations so America can go about its productivity and its business. Now, unless you are aware of these forces that underneath where we stand, not only will you lack an opportunity to fully succeed in your life, you will be consistently challenged by self-doubts. Second education myth. Intelligence is based on race. Now, this is how this happens. We have something in the brain called mirror neurons. I'm going to play a DVD in about 15, 20 seconds. We listen with our brains. Whether we are aware of it or not, each of you has these mirror neurons. When you're an infant and your mother is smiling at you, it's the mirror neurons that are interacting with the mother that gives you a guidance in terms of how you feel secure or not. What you're about to see is a DVD called A Girl Like Me. I don't know, how many have seen that? It's my honor to play this for you.
Every black female has a big butt and big boobs.
Loud, obnoxious. We get them.
Light skin being more attractive than dark skin.
We're not smart. We're this way, we're that way. And a lot of times we have to prove ourselves as not being true.
At a young age, I already knew the standards for a girl like me. As I become older, they become more obvious.
You have to have permed hair, relaxed hair.
You know, straight hair or like blonde hair, you know, long waves or something.
And if it's natural, that's good hair. Like bad hair is hair you have to relax because it's kinky.
Like it's not like a pail and a half, like natural hairstyles. Or like if they are natural, they have to be like the curly head, like black girl. Or something that looks mixed or something.
I remember when I first started wearing my hair natural, at first my mom was okay with it. And she thought it looked nice. And then after like the second day, she was like, oh, stop that. She was like, you're starting to look African. I was like, well, I am African. And that really pissed me off.
There are standards that are imposed upon us, like, you know, you're prettier if you're light skinned.
I knew people in the past that like, just like, wanted to be light-skinned, not for any particular reason, you know, because they love themselves. I mean, they love themselves except for, you know, the color of their skin.
Like my siblings are all lighter than me, and my mom, she's dark-skinned, but she's lighter than me. So like I noticed, and I was like, hey, how come I'm the darkest, and you know everybody else is so light? And I don't know. Since I was younger, I also considered being lighter as a form of beauty, or you know, beautiful, more beautiful than being dark skinned. So I used to think of myself as being ugly because I was dark skinned.
I knew people who actually like went out there and got, you know, bleaching cream and everything. They actually like laid in the tub, like poured like capfuls of bleach into it just so they could like see if their skin would get lighter.
But yeah, my aunt that lives in Honduras, she basically started using skin bleaching cream when she was about 25. And she started her oldest daughter on it when she was about 11, and then she has an even younger daughter that was about 6 when she started using the skin bleaching cream on her.
I've seen people say that I would never marry a dark-skinned man because, you know, because I don't want that in my gene pool.
On the other hand, light-skinned girls have their issues too. We could call high yellow, conceited, house nigga. I feel like both sides have their issues.
I guess I sort of felt like there was not any attention toward me because of maybe my skin color or because my hair was kinky or, you know, just like that. Or even when I was younger, like, say there was, I don't know, a doll. I used to have a lot of dolls, but most of them were just white dolls with long straight hair that I would comb, and I would be like, oh, I wish I was just like this Barbie doll.
In Brown versus Board of Education, the famous case that desegregated schools in the 1950s, Dr. Kenneth Clark conducted a doll test with black children. He asked them to choose between a black doll and a white doll. In most instances, the majority of the children preferred the white doll. I decided to reconduct this test as Dr. Clark did to see how we've progressed since then.
Can you show me the doll that you like best or that you like to play with?
This one. I like that one.
Okay.
This one.
That one?
This one. I like to play with this.
And can you show me the doll that is the nice doll?
And why is that the nice doll?
He's white.
And can you show me the doll that looks bad? Okay. And can you give, and why does that look bad?
Because it's black.
And why do you think that's a nice doll?
Because she's white.
And can you give me the doll that looks like you? "15 out of the 21 children preferred the white doll."
Our ancestors came to this country and they were pretty much ripped out of their culture. You know, they couldn't speak their language. They couldn't, you know, they couldn't be themselves. They had to be like what everybody else told them to be.
You get the point of this. Now I have something shocking to say to you guys. I'm looking around at this beautiful audience. You really are a good-looking group, I should tell you that. Really, look in the mirror once in a while. So as an African American, I want to say, my brothers and sisters, you're all African American. Every single one of you. About 60,000 years ago, your ancestors migrated from East Africa to South Africa because of a problem in the weather. 60,000 years after they migrated to Europe. Now in Europe, because there was less sun, you had to lose your color. Because if you didn't, you would not absorb vitamin D sufficiently to avoid rickets. So over the thousands of years, your color changed. So the color of our skin is only a superficial stereotype that separates us, that we have learned to socialize. Those children, babies have been shown, and have been taught by their parents to be racist, where they show a preference for white versus black. Now, no one in this audience is a racist. In fact, I've rarely met some. Even those who travel around with that Confederate flag, it's a symbol that stands for something that they don't really understand. Except for the fact, and I know there are Confederate flags in this area. The point is, in your lifetime, we will become a majority-minority nation. In fact, babies now who are kids of color outnumber those who are white. It's something to embrace, because if we can begin to understand each other for who we are, then we can begin to solve the problems. And here's where I want to bring in some neuroscience to explain this. I need each of you to stand up. Everybody stand up. All right, I want you to turn to find a partner.